This is Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. I'm glad you're joining us. Our guest is Ed Hernandez, member of the California State Senate. And sir, I want to talk to you about some initiatives that may be on the ballot in November, dealing with taxes. As you know, the governor has proposed one initiative which would increase sales tax for 5 years by ½ cent, increase taxes on higher income wage earners. But there are two other competing initiatives, one by a teachers group, one by Molly Munger, that would also deal with tax increases. A lot of concern that if all three of those wind up on the ballot, they'll all go down. What's your sense?
You know, I agree with you, and I think that if all three do go on, it's less likely that one of them will pass. Just for the record, I'm supportive of the governor's proposal, but I think what we need to do is make sure that the public knows that we have to pick one if all three get on the ballot.
It seems as if Molly Munger and the teachers, I mean, those people, those groups tend to be allies of the Democrats and Governor Brown, so can't we all just get along and, you know, come together and find one initiative that can make it on the ballot and no competition?
You know, obviously we'd love to all get along, but keep in mind this is a democracy.
Yeah, of
people
course.
have a right to put whatever they think forward. I think each entity is currently looking at the signature gathering. They're taking poll numbers to see if their initiative is valid and if they want to move forward with it. And my guess is, and I would hope at the end, you would eventually see just the one initiative, which would be the governor's initiative.
Let's talk about the governor's initiative, because a poll did come out recently, and it showed pretty wide support for the governor's proposal, between 68 and 72%, depending on who you're speaking with, likely voters versus registered voters. That's quite remarkable, especially since you only need 50% plus one. That being said, California voters have been generous, yet they haven't passed a statewide tax increase since 2004, when times were rolling. Do you think in 2012, despite this poll, they will be generous? You
know, I hope they do. And the reason why I hope they do is because, as you know, we've had a tough economic recession within the last 4 to 6 years. And there's been quite a few less revenues that have been coming into the state. And unless we get more revenues in, and unless the voters say so, we're going to have to make some very ugly cuts to balance the budget.
But couldn't one argue then we are just coming out of a recession, is now the time to tax, to increase taxes?
No, I understand the argument, but I believe there are some absolute basic fundamental services that we have to provide by government, which education, healthcare, infrastructure, public safety.
Prisons. Realignment.
You know, realignment. But without the amount of money, we can't even provide the basic services. We're cutting past the bone. And we are coming out of this economy, but I think it's going to do our state worse harm if we don't invest and continue to invest in public education.
Now, traditionally, your friends in the Republican Party had been willing to support versions of tax increases, governors like Reagan, Duke Majan, Wilson, Republican leaders. But today, I really can't find any Republicans in the state legislature, there are no constitutional officers that are Republicans, that are willing to support this initiative. What's changed? Why is it such a different time?
Well, I agree. I think in past legislative sessions, you've had Republicans in members as well as governors who have had the ability to raise taxes because they knew.
And when they do, like Abel Maldonado, for example, the lieutenant governor in the last cycle, I mean, he got just fricasseed for supporting.
And that's my point, is in the past, I think the biggest problem we have now is term limits. Every 2 years, 1/3 of the legislature is turned over. And it's the nature of term limits which unfortunately causes members to continue to run for different offices, so they become so dependent on their base.
Do you think we'll see term limit reform anytime soon?
You know, there's one on the ballot. The only thing it's going to do is just extend the amount of time you have in each office. But the way it's been polling, the voters still believe that term limits is the way to go.
We'll have to see. His name is Ed Hernandez. He's a member of the California State Senate. My name is Brad Pomerance. We thank you for watching Time Warner Cable's Local Edition. Back to HLN.